Okay, at this time, we'll call our regular meeting, regular session to order. If you would, Madam Clerk, take the roll call.
Mr. Moore?
Present.
Ms. Pace Snook?
Present.
Mr. Clue?
Okay, at this time, we'll call our regular
Present.
meeting,
Mr.
regular
Schuerbecker?
session to order.
Mr. Simmons?
If you would, Madam Clerk, take the roll call.
Mr. Braun? Mr.
Present.
Moore? 8 council members
Present.
present. Ms. Pace
Thank
Snook?
you.
Present.
Mr. Clue?
Okay, at this time, we'll call our regular meeting, regular session to order.
Pray together.
Take the roll call.
Mr. Braun? Mr.
Present.
Moore?
Dear Lord, I'm grateful for the blessings of this day and for your help in
Okay,
getting
at this
us
time, we'll call our
through.
regular meeting, regular session to order.
I'm so thankful to be able to come in and pray together.
Present.
Dear Lord, I'm grateful for the blessings of this day and for your help in
Okay, at this
getting
time,
us
we'll
through.
call our regular meeting, regular session to order.
I'm so thankful to be able to come in and pray together. Especially thank you, Lord, for our. Dear Lord, I'm grateful for the blessings of this day and your part of the help us in
At
this
this time, we'll call our
day.
regular meeting,
Where we
regular
set to
session
go.
to order.
I'm so thankful to be able to come in and pray together. Especially thank you, Lord, for your. Dear Lord, I'm grateful for the blessings of this day and your part of the help us in
At
this
this time, we'll
day.
call our regular meeting,
Where we
regular
set to go.
session to order.
I'm thankful tonight and pray together. Especially thank you, Lord, for your. Dear Lord, I'm grateful for the blessings of this day and your part of the help us in this day. Now I'm grateful to go. I'm thankful tonight and pray together. Especially thank you, Lord, for your. Dear Lord, I'm grateful for the tonight to share part of the help us in this day. Now I'm grateful to go. I'm thankful tonight and pray together. Especially thank you, Lord, for your. I'm grateful tonight for those connected to the share part of the help us in this day. That would include. I'm thankful tonight and pray together. Especially thank you, Lord, for your. I'm grateful tonight for those connected to the share part of the help. I'll add to that any other areas that would in chamber. Tonight in the city. I'm grateful tonight for those connected to the share. I pray tonight and I'll add to that any other areas that would in chamber. Tonight in the city. I'm grateful tonight for those connected. Pray all this together. I pray tonight and I'll add to that any other areas that would in chamber. Tonight in the city. Attention, delivery tonight for those connected. I pray tonight and the United States of America. That would in chamber. For which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for the United States. That would in chamber. For which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for the United States. That would in chamber. For which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for the United States.
If the discretionary dollars are reviewed, this further jeopardizing social protection by just making the city is going to cost us. Now, discretionary subsidize the and knows its financial protection. If the discretionary dollars is further justified in the combined operations of the Chambers Solution now and no reduction of discretionary dollars is further justified if city finance combined operations of the Chambers Solution now and no reduction of discretionary dollars workforce is further justified sales tax if city finance combined operations of the Chambers Solution now a $30,000 cut on no reduction of discretionary dollars being worked within further justified sales tax if city finance combined operations and materials a $30,000 cut on no grant reduction of discretionary dollars being worked within further justified sales tax if city finance combined operations and materials a $30,000 cut on no asset not grant reduction of discretionary dollars being worked within further justified sales tax if city finance combined operations as a reminder of the importance of the $30,000 cut on no asset chambers of report grant reduction of discretionary dollars being worked within further justified sales tax if city finance combined operations as a reminder of the importance of the $30,000 bridging costs on no asset chambers of report grant reduction of discretionary dollars being worked within further justified sales tax if city finance combined operations as a reminder of the importance of the $30,000 bridging costs on no asset chambers of report grant reduction of discretionary dollars being worked to learn about our findings directly on tax if city finance combined operations as a reminder of the importance of the new businesses $30,000 bridging costs on no asset chambers of report grant reduction of discretionary dollars to learn about our findings directly on tax local products and services as a reminder of the importance of new 10 years ago the chamber started to no asset chambers of report grant reduction to learn about our findings directly on tax local products and services as a reminder of the through all of its efforts 10 years ago the chamber started to our existing community chambers of report grant reduction to learn about our findings local products and services as a reminder to recoup all of its efforts 10 years ago the chamber started to our existing community chambers of report grant reduction if you choose to sit back and learn about our findings local products and services as a reminder to recoup all of its efforts and more than that we believe chamber started to our existing community chambers of report grant reduction if you choose to sit back and learn about our findings Matt Goen, former local products and services to recoup all of its efforts and more than that we believe chamber started to our former SAP if you choose to sit back and learn about our findings Matt Goen, former local products and services to recoup all of its efforts and more than that we believe chamber started to our former SAP if you choose to sit back and learn about our findings Matt Goen, former local products and services to recoup all of its efforts and more than that we believe because if we have business to former SAP if you choose to sit back and learn about our Matt Goen, former local products doing this is step 2 more than that we believe and it's better to take church if you choose to sit back and learn about our Matt Goen, former local products doing this is step 2 more than that we believe and it's better to take church if you choose to sit back and learn about a small amount to ask I don't know doing this is step 2 more than that we believe and it's better to take church if you choose to sit back and learn about a small amount to ask I don't know doing this is step 2 more than that we believe and it's better to take church if you choose to sit back and learn about a small amount to ask I don't know
So would like to
doing this is step 2 more than that we believe and it's better to take church if you choose to sit back and learn about a small
Matt Goen,
so would like
one
to
Ashley Ford, member of Ballard and Ballard. I'm not the opportunity to speak. Thanks, Mayor. Matt Goen, and also thank you to one Ashley Ford, continuing member of the Chamber of Commerce, Ballard and Ballard. Are not what I'll call newer, not to the tenure that Mr. Moore is. Matt Goen, and also thank you. What I'd like to do is put maybe a little bit of historical perspective on what the Chamber's been doing, not what I'll call newer, past 10 years, so no longer a board member there. Matt Goen, and also thank you. What I'd like to do is put maybe a little bit, admittedly, we were in a difficult spot. What the Chamber's been doing, not what I'll call newer, past 10 years, so no longer a board member there. Matt Goen, and also thank you. What I'd like for opposite maybe, but admittedly, we were in a difficult spot. What the Chamber's executive director retired, we were Chamber 10 years, so no longer hired another executive director didn't work out so well. So what I'd like for opposite maybe, but admittedly, we were in a difficult spot. And as a and we need to take this didn't work out so well. Good introspective look at what the business and the way we answered to our financial issues. And we did that. honest perseverance and introspective look at the way we do business and the way we manage the city. And we did that out of someone at the time, Brian Franklin. We did honest perseverance and introspective look and some knowledge of my time, Brian Franklin. And what we came up with was, in fact, interesting the city. So we tried to section into city service. And we did that. Some knowledge of my time, Brian Franklin. And what we came up with was, in fact, interesting the city. So we tried to section into city service. And we did that. Some knowledge of my time, Brian Franklin. And what we came up with was, in fact, interesting the city. So we tried to section into city service. And we did that. Some knowledge of my time, Brian Franklin. And what we came up with was, in fact, significant ideas. And we tried to section into city service. And we did the chambers or knowledge of my Brian Franklin. And what we came up with was, in fact, significant ideas. And we tried to section into city service. And we did the chambers or knowledge of my Brian Franklin. And what we came up with knowledgeable significant ideas. And we tried to section into city service. And we have a progressive advisory came up with knowledgeable significant ideas. And we tried to section into city service. And we have a progressive advisory came up with knowledgeable significant ideas. The biggest problem we have is and we have a progressive advisory came up with go to knowledgeable significant ideas. The biggest problem we have we certainly don't. And we have a progressive advisory. A lot of us are go to knowledge the biggest problem we have we certainly appreciate it. Have a progressive a lot of us disrespect knowledge the biggest problem we have we certainly appreciate it. Have a progressive a lot of things disrespect knowledge but it is the biggest problem we have we certainly appreciate it. Have a progressive a lot of things disrespect knowledge but it is the biggest problem we have we certainly appreciate it. Have a progressive a lot of things disrespect knowledge but it is the biggest problem we have we certainly appreciate it. Have a progressive a lot of things disrespect knowledge but it is the biggest problem we have we certainly appreciate it. Have a progressive a lot of things disrespect but it is the biggest problem we have we certainly appreciate it. Have a progressive a lot of things disrespect but it is the biggest problem we have we certainly appreciate it. Have a progressive a lot of things
events that we've had at the chamber focusing more on the state events that we've had at the chamber focusing more on the state events that we've had at the chamber focusing more on the
Anyone else come forward? Wrap that up. Before we move on to the consent agenda, anyone else come forward? If I could wrap that up. Before we move on to the consent agenda, anyone else come forward? If I could wrap that up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. As you know, once a year in November, we do No Shave November, and we raise money for different. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member organizations. As you know, once a year in November, we do raising No Shave November money for, and we raise money for different. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member organizations. As you know, a new organization that we do actually nationwide, actually money for, and we raise money for different. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member organizations. As you know, a new organization that we do actually nationwide, actually money for, and we raise money for different. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member organizations. As you know, a new organization that we do actually nationwide, actually money for, and we got a lot of thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member as well. As you know, a new organization that we do actually nationwide, actually money for, and we got a lot of thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member as well. As you know, a new organization that we do actually, I thought it was a great thing. And we got a lot of thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member as well. As you know, a new organization that we do actually, I thought it was a great thing. And we got a lot of thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member as well. As you know, a new organization that we do actually, I thought it was a great thing. And we got a lot of thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member as well. As you know, a new organization that we do actually, I thought it was a great thing. And we got a lot of thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member as well. I thought it was a great thing. And we got a lot of thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member as well.
children come to school. The big kicker is living in school. We only reach out to with that help from Ivy not to the big kicker is living in school. We only reach out to with that help from Ivy not to the big kicker is living in school. We only reach out to with that help from Ivy not to not only do we provide them, we only reach out to with that help from Ivy not only does many organizations like that help children and help refer to our that's what we do. Not only does many organizations like that help children and help refer to our the thing is that we can teach, if we can get these basic things that many organizations like that help children and help refer to our the thing is that we can teach, if we can get these basic things that many organizations like that they're so worried about their stuff. The thing is that we can teach, if we can get these basic things that many organizations like that they're so worried about their stuff. The thing is that we can reach out to us, we can get these basic things that many website they're so worried about their stuff. The thing is that we can reach out to us, we can get these basic things that many website they're so worried about their stuff. No, we don't have that. We can reach out to us, we can get these basic things that website no, we don't have that. We can reach out to us, we can get these basic things that right now we're using Facebook. So basically when it needed to reach out to us, they say, hey, this child needs this. Right now we're using Facebook. So basically when it needed to reach out to us, they say, hey, this child needs this. Right now we're using Facebook. So basically when it needed to reach out to us, they say, hey, this child needs this. Right now we're using Facebook. So basically when it needed to reach out to us, they say, hey, this child needs this. Fire guys and other people in our community, I would say we're going to probably be able to provide over $800 to Bright Futures to that organization. So reach out to us. We're really pushing to get the business owners involved, because that is where another leadership part of Bright Futures. So,
what was the website again?
Bright Futures Fulton.
Just one word?
Yes.
Okay.
.com. BrightFuturesFulton.com.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Sergeant Reams. Appreciate that.
I might add, in the past, we've done this quite a few years, and the council has usually all donated $20 apiece. So I just want to throw that out there.
I got it. I got 20.
Does that mean the female participants don't have to shave their legs? Or?
I envy them for being able to grow a beard. I
Yeah.
have never been able to.
It would have to be no shave 2021 for you to even notice that. Take them off.
Very good. Thanks for letting us veer off the topic at hand here. So we'll move on. Approval of consent agenda. Council members may choose to remove an item. Tonight we just have the request from Kingdom Christian Academy for the Jingle Bell Run. Looks like that event has been reviewed and approved by Chief Myers.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Okay. We do not have unfinished business, new business tonight. We have Dr. Coward here to speak to us about the upcoming bond election. Short timer here.
Thank you. I really thought Chief Myers was going to get up and share a video of Sergeant Reams winning a dance contest at the middle school. It's floating around the police department. It's quite humorous. You might want to take a look at that. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come and visit with you. The school board is looking toward a bond issue in April 2020. Several board members are here, and I think Jackie Pritchett, Andy Bonder, Matt Gallen, Todd Gray, and Karen Stevens, I think you know, and Ty Crane, the assistant superintendent. Todd and Andy are on the facilities committee that originally formatted this. We're going to talk just a couple quick slides here in just a minute, but I want to take you back about 10 years. Our last bond issue was in April of 2010. It was a $7.9 million issue, and the tax levy was maintained that had come forward from about 2005 of 0.7412 cents per $100 assessed valuation. That issue provided a baseball field, a lot of HVAC, roofs, minor building upgrades, a media center revision at the high school, technology, a girls' locker room at the middle school, and due to the favorable construction pricing climate, we did a few other things around the district, and one of those things was a cooperation with the city council in terms of addressing emergency management issues over at McIntyre by having you all authorize your city staff to design a parking lot. We paid for the parking lot, and that was just about the end of our bond issue money out of that, but that cooperation was really appreciated. Thank you. So the board in the past 10 years has managed their budget by paying down debt and preparing for this bond issue so it is a no tax increase issue. And it does extend debt, that's true, but it is not estimated to change your debt service tax levy. In 2017, the facilities committee, Todd and Andy and myself, were looking at how you go about this, and we pulled out at that point because we thought our more important issue was addressing mental health issues for students and compensation issues, trying to stop some of the turnover. That resulted in the August 2018 57-cent tax levy that we were able to get passed. So after that, we started again on thinking about how you go about improving your facilities. Then, simultaneous with that, the explosion in the number of students. We're out of space. We're out of space. We would have added another kindergarten class this year, but we didn't have any place to put it in an existing building without putting a trailer in, and we didn't want to do that, so we divided classes and put teacher aides in. And that's acceptable by the state, but it's not the best thing that we wanted for our kids. We hired Hollis and Miller architects. Hollis and Miller came in, started in January, and did community surveys, faculty surveys. We've had 4 open engineers and did professional analysis of all the buildings. And then the board worked through that all summer, and then we're working toward what do we do in April. So our proposal is going to be Proposition S. It's a no tax increase on the April 7th, 2020 ballot. Those, as you know from a public entity, that even number of years is a 4/7 vote on those, and it's kind of critical with that versus a 2/3 vote on odd number of years, non-general elections. So Prop S components, next slide, Karen. Space for students, safety and security, and sustainable buildings. Next slide. When we think about space for students, we started with a variety of proposals of building a new elementary school. Well, we were targeting somewhere around 25 to 27 million. A new elementary school was somewhere around 18 to 19 million. That wasn't going to work. So how do we create space? So the proposal is to go over to the Fulton Education Center property and put on 12 classrooms for kindergarten. That's new space for kindergarten kids, but it also creates 2 to 3, maybe 4 rooms in each of our existing elementary buildings to provide additional space there. That's one issue. The next issue is space at the middle school. When that science wing was put on at the middle school, that area was designed for another wing of classrooms, 8 classrooms. So we're proposing 8 classrooms on that middle school. That will net about 6.5 classrooms, because in conjunction with that, the middle school will be a renovation of that facility. And some of those are pretty small classrooms, and we'll divide up some of that space. Then the third major item is a high school competition gym. And as many of you know, many of the schools in our conference have 2 gyms. When you're traveling to Kirksville, that's kind of nice, because you can play 2 games or 2 male and female athletes, that kind of thing. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. And you also know there's just not enough gym space in town, and I know you're trying to address that too. And then add additional parking in all areas. Our thing that we probably will get done the quickest in some of this is safety and security. I think you'll probably recall in the 2010 bond issue, we put controlled access to all of our buildings. We're trying to upgrade those to some secure entrances. You've probably seen the information come down the state auditor's office on technology security. We're like every other district in the state. We've got server rooms and closets, and all those need to be secured at some point in time. We've never had a problem, but we've also not had a state audit on that either. We're looking at traffic flow, we're looking at camera upgrades, and we're looking at bus access to all of our facilities. In the area of sustainable buildings, the big issue right there is electric upgrades. Our newest building is vintage 1975, and they go back to about 25. And we're looking at trying to replace those electrical systems in the buildings, upgrade that for the next 25 to 30 years. There's a lot of plumbing upgrades that need to be made, and that plumbing upgrade is also bathroom renovations, and at the high school adding some bathrooms. Roofs, general interior pieces. In the middle school, we're looking at a whole renovation of that middle school and putting in secure doors in all those classrooms. What is not on that slide, but is also included in that sustainable building, is the pole barn. Many of you are familiar with that. It's used a lot in the community, and it needs some help, and we don't want to lose it because it is a community access. It's also our gym space, so partial our gym space at the middle school. And then also included in the sustainable buildings after the electrical renovation comes about is a complete upgrade of Albritton Theater, renovation, lighting, sound system, those types of things. This is the last paragraph on the ballot the board will take a first review of tomorrow night. And the adjusted debt service levy is estimated to remain unchanged at 0.7612 per $100 per assessed valuation. That's where we've been about the last 5 years, and because of that, we've been able to pay down debt and position ourselves to go out and look at $27.5 million issued over a 3-year period to cover these projects. So where we're at, Proposition 4/7 in April, space for students, safety and security, and sustainable buildings. And that's our major focus. We're getting ready to lay out our campaign in January. I do have slides in the office that show what each building is getting. That's kind of takes a while to go through, and I'm not going to run you through that tonight. But I want you to be aware of what the issues were and where we're trying to get to. And what we're trying to do is create an optimistic situation in April of 2020 to get this thing passed. We need this space, and by looking at the other slides at some point, you can see that, and those all will go into buildings too. I'll be glad to address any questions, or we've got people here that can address the questions if you like.
Dr. Coward, what is your student to teacher ratio now? Do you know what that number is, or Karen?
I don't know what that is off.
Ty?
I know for my son's kindergarten class, it's 22 students at
22 to 1.
teacher.
You can go up a little bit higher than 22, but that's the problem. We don't want to go any higher. We prefer to be
Sure.
at 20 at kindergarten level or lower. And where those kids have come from, we don't know. We had a professional demographer. They projected those numbers and they were only off by 50. So that's 2 classes, and that's frustrating.
So when you create 12 new kindergarten classes, you're going to move all the kindergartners
That's correct.
to the new building, or not to the new building, to the existing building that's going to be revamped?
The 12 new kindergarten classes will be a new facility.
Okay.
Will be a new building with a commons area, some kind of a cafeteria, gyms, and it's sited over by the Fulton Education Center right now, and we see some nexus in that. But it will it will free up 2 classrooms at Barley, 3 at Bush, and 4 at McIntyre right now. Or 4 at Bush and 3 at McIntyre, I don't remember exactly.
Well, we appreciate you keeping us in the loop on this. Best of luck to you. It's a need, we can see that, I think.
As we develop a little bit more information, we'll be glad to come back and share that with you or send you some information. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
I do, Scott, I'm sorry, I have to do, how long is this bond issue in effect? You say 3 years?
It will be issued over 3 years, in 10 million, 10 million, and 7 million. The money will be available over 3 years.
Okay, but to pay, the levy that you're asking the citizens to approve is gonna be on the books for?
Probably 19.
Okay,
The levy we're asking to extend.
Right.
Will be on 19, yes.
okay.
That's probably pretty, there will be some shorter bonds. We'll buy some technology or some of the camera equipment will come out of 3-year bonds, and some of the real hard building stuff will be out of that 19-year bond.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Kemp, the operational costs of increasing the classrooms, the additional teachers and all of that, is that?
Theoretically, there shouldn't be much operational cost for additional teachers because we're moving classrooms. Now, I've been in this business long enough, I know that's not necessarily true.
You're opening up classrooms that we know are going to get filled.
They're going to get filled, and we're probably going to have to add 2 or 3 teachers at the kindergarten level, or those specialist type individuals. One of the biggest things that we need right now is additional social workers that we put in with the last tax levy, and kind of working through that. So we have not looked at the specific building operational costs yet, and that's the next phase. Okay.
I
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate, this is needed so bad, and I appreciate all of you. Move forward with this, and I back you 100%.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you for
appreciate it.
sharing. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr.
Mayor, thank you very much for the time. Bill, thank you for the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Coward.
Okay, moving on, we'll hit council concerns. I'll start with Councilwoman Seebacher.
I don't have anything, thank you.
All right, Councilman Simmons.
The only thing I have is Chief Kofeld and how we feel sorry for him that he has now left the group of single men. So I guess congratulations to him. That's it.
Very good. All right, thank you. Councilwoman Recluse?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilman Stone?
Nothing, just happy Veterans Day to everybody in the room that's a veteran.
Good call, good call. Councilman Braun?
I would like to just note that I would certainly like to see sooner than later a retreat for our use tax that will be on the ballot on the 20th of April 2020 as well. So we can get that together along with the fire department and and maybe a liaison between the police department and fire department to be here with us. So everybody's input is heard on coming out with it.
Yeah, we have time, but yet it's going to just be creeping up on us too.
It'll be here before we know it.
Yep.
So I think that that's something that needs to happen sooner than later. And I support, nobody likes new taxes, and nobody likes to extend or anything else, but I 100% know the need for it, and I support the school as well. Thank you.
Very good. Councilwoman Paista?
Just wanted to say that Westminster Avenue is great.
Isn't it?
It's nice and flat. For a while there, my car was having some issues, but everything worked out and it's great. So I'm happy that we went ahead with that.
And if I can piggyback on that, I thought it was absolutely amazing that we passed that on a Tuesday night.
Yes.
And Wednesday morning,
The
when
next
I
day.
drove down 4th Street, there was a crew already on Westminster Avenue at 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. That was wonderful.
Yep,
Great job, Kyle and crew.
you bet.
Okay, moving on, Councilman Moore.
I only had one while back before you took over, the new mayor come in. I had talked about a work session on yards in the city, and I would like to sometime this winter work on the discussion about property cleanup, and it's the only thing, something we can
Okay.
talk about during the winter.
We can sure talk about it again. I don't know, we've
I know we batted around, but I think we need to get a little bit more serious on it.
well, let's put it on the agenda in the next few months.
All right.
Very good. Councilman Shiverdecker.
Something just to add on to what Steve was just talking about. We had talked in the past about allowing some burning of leaves and stuff, possibly. Maybe we could talk some more about that, and see about doing an ordinance to allow that, or?
We can sure talk about it again. That'd be a good night to do it when we talk about the yards, so.
Exactly.
Combine them together.
Very good. And I'd just like to thank Chief Kofelt for bringing the fire truck out tonight. It's pretty cool to get to see that. Looks like a good piece of machinery. I think that was a wise decision on the council's part. And before we move on, I want to interject one more thing. If you would, Kathy, Ms. Holschlag, fill us in on the rec center financing. We had a little email discussion about it, and she's got some updated information.
The first part of October, I received confirmation from Central Bank and the Callaway Bank, who have agreed to a 50-50 partnership. They have approved the loan. They've listed the terms. We're going to borrow $5 million. Estimated construction period will be 1 year. Interest-only payments for that time, 15-year amortization. The fixed rate will only be good for 10 years, and it will be recalculated then. So the next 5 years will have a floor of 3.8. They're estimating construction interest at 4, and the first 10 years at 3.8. Since it is a tax-exempt loan, I had to call Gilmore and Bell, and it will take them 60, 90 days to satisfy all the IRS requirements and make sure that we can get that approved before we can finalize any of this. So that's where we're at.
What was the total amount?
$5 million in principal. Mm-hmm.
What's the yearly debt service? Do you know off the top of your head?
Move, because it's 5 years.
It's going to be
10.
Yeah. I'd have to look.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have the amortization schedule
Would
with
it be
me.
16 years total with the 1-year construction, or is it?
Go 16.
Okay.
So,
And I understand.
and I don't estimate, at the very earliest, I don't think we'll be making any construction draws until late spring.
Right.
Plain and simple, you
Yeah,
know.
we'll-
If then,
We'll draw on the 4 million first.
yes, we will
So
spend.
we probably ought to give Gilmore and Bell a call and cut them loose. Or
I've already
they're-
called
They're
them.
working on it.
Yeah, I've already called them and put that in the works. Yeah, I called him after I got this, so. And sent him this information.
Kind of the way you said that.
Is that rate locked, or is it still going to?
No, we haven't signed.
Okay.
The rates
They're
in this
dropping.
were good for 60 days.
Okay.
And I think that was before the last rate increase. Now, I don't know what they would do because it is fixed for 10 years. So that's the unknown.
She can't comment right now, she's not working.
So that's where we're at. Are we good?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you very
Any more
much for the
questions?
update, I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Valid, $35,000 a month.
Okay, we'll move on to resolutions. Councilwoman Sabacher, if you would present Resolution 3358.
Yes, sir. Resolution number 3358, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to enter into an agreement with the Callaway Chamber of Commerce of Fulton, Missouri for services to be rendered in 2020 and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to adopt resolution number 3358 at this council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? We obviously heard from Tamara. She put out a very good case to keep the amount at 88. Is there any thoughts on that?
Well, I guess I'll speak up a little. It's my understanding that in the lease agreement for the Chamber's facility, you have been paying $12,000 a year for the lease? This,
No. No.
1,000 a month?
No.
No, what was it?
They weren't paying anything.
They weren't, well,
But
okay.
then the offer was for them, they offered to
Okay,
pay us
then
$1,000.
Okay, never mind then.
But
Thank you.
yes, it was gonna
I was
cost them
confused.
$12,000 more a year. If we had accepted their $1,000 a month rent offer, it would have cost them an extra $12,000 this next year.
Okay.
In rent. And we didn't accept that. We chose not to charge them rent.
Okay,
So they saved that $12,000.
right.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make myself available to be a liaison with the chamber for the city, if you would so like that to happen. I know it says that we can have one, there'll be one person that can be designated by you. If you'd like that, I'd be happy to step up and take that role.
And at this time, the way it's structured, I'm sort of the liaison, but I don't think it would hurt to have another council person at the meetings.
In our bylaws, you all are designated one. It doesn't say who that has to be, whether it be the mayor or a council person.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
So if you
So-
wanted to allow John to do that, do that.
You want to do my job for me.
Well,
It's interesting though, when some of those meetings, you get a little bit more information and you have a voice to be heard. So I think that's important. We'll talk about that.
Okay,
We'll
that's
think
fine.
about that. Thank you.
That's fine. I would like to make note of the 4 increments of $5,000. There is zero intention on the city to pull any of that money from the chamber. Zero intention. Okay, so it's not an either or. That money's not going anywhere. It's just spread out just like, potentially like the rest of the payments would be.
Is that you have, John?
No, you, go ahead.
Well, I would like to make the comment that Tamara and to the board that I believe that every councilman up here thinks that the chamber is needed in our community. And I look at it that we are building a new rec center, which was a little bit more than what we thought, so we have to make some savings. But like John had repeated, the 4 projects at 5,000, that wasn't going anywhere. It's what you, when you need it or what you wanted to be sponsored with, it was my understanding of that. And I believe building our new facility, that it's something that you can use to promote the community too. But your presentation this evening, I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot more than I do in the quarterly updates. So I do believe that I know you have come a long way from what it used to be. And as Mr. Gorin pointed out, that Mr. Schibberdecker has been here longer, but we have supported the chamber over 30 years we've been here. And so you can tell that at least us and a few others are supporters and believe in you. And, you know, if we bought a new, we got a fire truck, building a building, so sometimes we just have to cut, and I think that we pay of 88,000, a big portion of the budget, and surely that somebody else, a county or someone can pitch in and help out to come up with that other 10, I mean, that you're gonna miss, but, that's my input on it. You know, in the future, maybe things will change and we can work out a different package, but for right now, there's nothing against anything the chamber is doing. It's just that we have to watch our nickels and dimes too. That's my comment, thank you.
And unfortunately, Mr. Youngerman left before he heard all of it.
Yeah.
I did reach out to and just threw out the option if we could come up with that half of that 10, if they could come up with the other half, and to make them whole. And that was a possibility. He said we could talk about it, so I don't know. That's an option. But that was totally if, and I don't want to put him, throw him under the bus.
Mr. Mayor, I do think we need to look at opportunity. I recognize we're trying to pass a balanced budget. We have lots of needs this year. We're looking at salary increases. We're looking at a lot of different costs that the city is looking at. And it does, you know, $10,000 on a $45 million budget does sound, you know, like a small amount of dollars, but unfortunately, that's where we're at, is we're cutting these small amounts of dollars. But I think the city does need to look at any opportunity to close that gap in 2020, whether it's on the official agreement or it's in the official budget. I think some sponsorships and some various things throughout the rest of the year is where we need to really see that opportunity.
I think it's appropriate to hear from Tamara quickly.
Well, you know, a couple of points I want to make. First of all, here in my folder, I have a packet that has all of the sponsorships for our major events where the city of Fulton is listed. And I'm going to hand this so that you guys can look at it.
Thank you.
I understand that you all had said that you wanted to earmark that $20,000 to go towards sponsorships. But we are listing you all as sponsors for all of our major events. For our golf tournament, for our annual banquet, for our Teachers Appreciation Breakfast, for our Town and Country. We're listing you on banners and in programs, and you'll be able to see that. For the golf tournament, every golf cart had a little tag that had the City of Fulton logo, sponsored by the City of Fulton. That was the best way that I knew how to make an impact, that everybody that was playing in that tournament could see your logo. Just please keep in mind, whenever you make cuts to the chamber, to the Fulton Area Development Foundation and the Show Me Innovation Center, that this isn't making cuts on the annual banquet and things like that. It's also making cuts to our economic development. And I know that you all have some very big projects that you guys are working on. But if we don't have economic development in our community, there won't be anybody to use those rec centers. But thank you, I appreciate you guys. I am very grateful that you guys are taking the time to learn and understand what we're doing. I will do a better job of telling you what we're doing in the future. I promise that.
Tamara, I've been on the council now 19 months, 20 months, something like that, and I was unaware of some things as time has gone on that I have become much more familiar with. And I will tell you that a lot of situations, but I look back at our population for the city of Fulton, and it's been stagnant for 18 or 19 years, maybe even longer than that. I have in front of me, I have 19 years worth. You know, that is a huge concern. And when I first visited with Mayor Benton, he said, John, what's important to you? I said, well, we have to grow our residency, and we have to add businesses. He said, but where do you start? I said, it's not a matter of where you start. It's a circle, and it has to start at the top and the bottom, and they have to work around together. So that is something that we have to change. We hear from Dr. Coward that his students are going through the roof, but yet our population hasn't changed. So the demographics has changed. So,
And I have an answer, John. We need more rooftops. I lived here for 3 years. My first 3 weeks in this community, I lived in a hotel in Kingdom City before I found a place. 3 weeks in a hotel because I couldn't find a place to live in Callaway County. Me and my husband just bought a house in July of 2019. We have been searching for a home for 2 years? Over 2 years. We need more rooftops. Believe it or not, every house that we looked at that came open in this community, you had to be the first one there, because if you weren't, and you know your wife is a realtor,
I'm not opposed.
if you weren't the first one and you better make a bid on that house before you pull out of that
Gotta be
driveway.
ready, without a doubt.
We need more rooftops. We need more apartments. We need more duplexes. We need more homes. And we've had some opportunities to do those things, and we need to talk about those and have some of those things happen. Because if we're going to build our population and if we're going to get some, we have to recon. Ask Jeff. We have those lists of things from all of those businesses that we're talking to, and we can't meet the minimum requirements for rooftops. Plus, you know, it takes a long time. I really will tell you, it took them 9 years to get an Arby's. But anyway, we are working on those things. And
It's
we
gotta
know.
happen.
And you know what? We are getting some new stuff out at Tanglewood. Bruce Hackman has been working on that all year and talking about those things. So, you know, we know.
I know.
We know.
I'm very well aware of what's going on.
Sure you are.
More so than Bruce.
Before you leave, since you volunteered yourself to get back up, when we have the work session on cleanup of properties, you might want to come over and join in, because I think as well as business as well, it's like here on Market Street when you drive right there, the little apartment buildings. That's an eyesore to anybody coming into the community, which that stuff should be cleaned up. I mean, that is just so you might want to join in on that.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Tamara, nobody, I don't believe there's one person on the council that thinks that you are doing a horrible job with the chamber. That is not the case, okay? That is not the case at all.
Thank you. Any other questions that I can answer? And I hope you see those packets. Feel free to keep those.
Very good.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to table
Second.
Resolution 3358.
I have a motion and a second to table this. That'd be till our next, give us a little bit more time to talk about it, see if we can come up with some money. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there any discussion on that? Not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no.
No.
That's 7 and 1. Very good. So that'll be tabled. We'll talk about it some more. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Resolution 3359. Councilman Simmons, if you would present this for us.
Resolution number 3359, a resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to apply for and sign all necessary documents in relation to the State Farm Good Citizenship Foundation grant, and contingent upon receiving said grant monies, approving the city's monetary match. I make a motion that we approve resolution number 3359 at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Very good. Is this the intersection?
Be
That-
for Bush School.
It's the
This
flashing
Mrs.
speed
Gray came
limit
to us
signs.
about. Yeah.
similar to.
Okay.
But this is not at the intersection, this is
This is
at
at
the
the-
crossing, right?
This will be down by, in front of the school.
Right,
Yes,
right at the, where the
yes.
crossing guard is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we add paintballs to it?
Paintballs
Yeah.
to shoot
When they
cars?
speed? I'm just kidding. Chief, would that work? Chief's not paying attention.
Dr. Calvin
Thank you for not
left.
paying
I don't know if
attention.
the crossing guards can, if they have to have conceal and carry for that or not.
For paintball.
No, it would be automatic by the sign.
Oh, okay.
They must be into something.
Very good. So is there any discussion on that?
No, I think this is a great opportunity, and if we don't get this grant, we need to keep looking at every opportunity to fund this project. The PTO, the scouts, the business sponsorships, whatever we can get this community to sponsor.
Yep, no brainer. Very good. I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Moving on, Councilwoman Recluse, you would present 3360.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 3360, a resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to accept the stormwater management plan as presented and establish an effective date. I make a motion to adopt resolution 3360 at this council meeting.
Second.
And it looks like this is just a requirement by the Department of Natural Resources.
Based on the population, think of it as best practices, things we should try and do rather than necessarily, the document says we're going to try and do them, but it's not a lot of things, there's not a lot of capital expenditure associated with trying to meet the obligations.
Very good. Are there any questions or discussion on this?
Kyle needs to come explain it all to us, and I'm just kidding, Kyle.
Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Say
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Very good. And our last one, Resolution 3361, if you would, Councilman Stone.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 3361, a resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to sign all necessary documents with Interstate Municipal Gas Agency, abbreviated IMGA, in order to dispute the natural gas rate increase proposed by Panhandle Eastern. I make a motion to pass resolution number 3361 at tonight's meeting.
Second.
And this is something that came up about a month ago.
Pretty quick, yep.
Yep.
Not a good thing.
Could we have Bill explain
A little
so
more about-
others know what's going on with it as well, please?
I think it'd be appropriate.
Panhandle Eastern Pipeline is the company that owns the pipe that travels from central Kansas to near Hatton. It continues on across the United States. But we utilize that pipeline to move gas that we buy in the Kansas field. And then our take point is up near Hatton. We have been paying Panhandle Eastern, we've been paying them for decades and decades. They've been our sole provider. They're the only way we have to get natural gas to the community. They have filed a new tariff request, a new rate with FERC, which would raise our rate from the currently 35-40 cents a unit, and it would go up to about $1.50 a unit. The combined effect on our system would be approximately an increase of $860,000 a year. Our current consumer rate would go from $7.50. We're currently at $7.50. It would go up to somewhere around $8.75 to $9. We are working with IMGA, who is our gas provider. She has put together somewhat of a consortium of other municipalities that are using, that are customers on the Panhandle Eastern Pipeline it's called an intervention. We want to intervene in the FERC hearings and let FERC know that we're not on board with this. I believe there's a pretty good chance of maybe not winning and having it all, and not being $1.50. But I believe there's a very good chance and very good likelihood that Panhandle will come back with some sort of settlement offer. FERC has indicated that they want this settled and they don't want it to go to trial. Okay? The consortium of customers that Heather's put together is a total of about 1.2, 1.3 million decatherms a year. The city of Fulton is about 790, let's just call it 800,000 decatherms a year. Well, it depends on the year. I think actually this year it's 699,000. So as you can see, the cost associated with just fighting, they break it up based on the number of decatherms. So the city of Fulton's going to be 50% or just a little over the 50% of the cost to fight this issue. The cost to fight, it's a crazy range, but she says the cost to fight is going to be somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000. So our cost is, based on what we've been told, is going to be somewhere between $100,000 and $250,000. We expect it to be closer to the lower end due to FERC's recent indication that they want it settled. Well, they don't believe we're going to have to go through, the lawyers will have to go through all the research and all the depositions and all the justification and all the auditing of the Panhandle books to justify why they shouldn't get that amount. Am I leaving anything out, Mr. Dunlap?
Thank you for covering that, Bill. That way
That
people
does.
know.
It helps.
The impact to a typical residential customer if it goes into effect?
There's really
I know
not,
there's not typical,
there's not
but-
a typical residence, but a lot of homes use in the 20 decatherm amount per month. On your utility, Ellen?
Yeah.
It would show up as 200 on your utility bill. A lot of customers are in that 200 range. And it could add 15 cents a unit, which would be about $30 a month during the heating months.
Right.
At the residential level,
Fairly substantial.
That's kind of
on a typical house,
Yeah.
on a typical cold month.
Right.
It's about a 20% increase
And you're,
to your natural gas piece. 20 to 25% increase.
Daryl's going to help us.
I looked at my own utility bill.
You are not
It
hurting my
raised me
feelings
about
getting up.
25% on my natural gas bill.
We looked at ours too.
The group she put together, for those of you that's been to the IMGA annual conference, it is other IMGA customers right now. And so they're mostly Illinois customers. Some of the rates, believe it or not, we're one of the cheaper increases because it's kind of a postage stamp rate. X amount of dollars gets you so far from the Kansas gathering fields.
I see. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some that's over $2. But like Bill said, we are one of the larger, or we're the largest of the Panhandle group. She's got customers on other pipes besides Panhandle. But the Panhandle customers, we're definitely the largest. And for those that have been at the meeting, most of those towns that are IMGA customers are smaller towns, small farming towns. We did, she gave us the name of the attorney group that they're using. Bill and I did reach out to Doug Healy, which is the attorney for MPUA, the Missouri Public Utility Lines. He kind of checked them out for us and told us to call us back and said they were competent attorneys. They had done this type of work before.
Okay.
Since we didn't know them, we kind of wanted to check that out. So that's kind of where we're at. It did happen fast.
I think it's criminal that they could just
Lots of things.
do it.
Well, it's in front of FERC because it is an interstate pipe. So it's kind of not in the Missouri Public Service Commission's realm.
Right.
It crosses several states. So that's where we're at. So.
Lots of money.
I certainly think we need to fight.
Are all the members being required to participate in this fight?
No, you're not required.
If they're not participating, are they going to get the benefit of our negotiated settlement?
No, not necessarily. And some of the, as I understand it, some of these negotiated rates are only negotiated with the people that intervene. If you didn't intervene, you may or may not benefit from the interventions. When she called us, there was no small customers had intervened yet. Because normally you would pick out another similar group of customers and you would just piggyback on their intervention, but there was not an intervention yet for a small system. So we kind of had to go ahead and do it. And that's where we're at.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on top of it, Daryl. And Bill.
Very good. Are there any more questions on that? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That passes. We'll move on to ordinances. First reads, Councilman Braun, if you would present 1565 for us.
Bill number 1565, an ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to declare certain tracts of land known as 607 Bluff Street and 609 Bluff Street to be surplus property, authorizing their distribution and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to place Bill 1565 for second reading at next regular scheduled meeting.
Second.
Very good.
If I may speak, these are houses that have been on our list for quite a while. I think they're familiar to everybody. But I want to give Dennis some compliments on this. You've taken possession of homes before in the past and then turned around and given them in lieu of construction and in lieu of something. Dennis has already had contact with 2 different people / groups that have shown interest in this property. So just today we were doing a little bit of, real quick, I don't want to make it sound like we worked too hard, but a little bit of quick brainstorming on a couple ideas on how to, for the city to dispose of these properties. And I think Dennis has come up with a couple ideas, and you know, we'll probably, just based on who we're talking to, who he's talking to, and some of the ideas we're running, we're probably going to look at probably rank it second and third next council meeting, so that the individual or individuals that are interested in doing the demolition of that houses on that property, and possibly doing some rebuilding, can get started. But we will, once it's declared surplus, we will go through an advertising and we'll take some bids. That's kind of what we talked about today. We'll take bids and look, maybe look at it as proposals rather more than a bid kind of deal. So the property is R2, so it could be an apartment house, a duplex. There's 2 lots there. So, but we do need, Kyle needs a strip of land no more than 10 feet wide, right down the middle of the property. So you're not going to be able to combine the lots and build something right in the middle.
Darn it.
Storm sewer. There's a storm sewer running right down between the houses now that is undersized. We believe that possibly could be undersized. Right? Right. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, what he said.
That's kind of what he said.
Any questions?
So if I understood you right, you are going to put it and advertise it in the paper that the property is available. It's not just on word of mouth and call.
Oh, it'll be in the advertisement paper.
Okay. So then at that point, would the funds, if we got $500, would the funds go back to the family at that point?
No.
Okay.
This is it.
But is there any way that if we passed a resolution that for our state senator and representative, that the state would help municipalities to get off on this thing about a landowner can take it down, about the asbestos when the city can't do only but one. That really could hide cities to really clean up their community.
I understand the question.
No.
Not going to happen.
Not right now.
And I want to pass along a thank you to Dennis and to Mr. Johnson for the conversations on this property. I'm familiar with the family that owned this property. There's been a lot going on with that family. and their conversations with the city were very positive, and the family very much appreciated everything that went into transferring the properties to the city. It was a very tragic event, but this piece of it was a very positive aspect of all of it, and they wanted to thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
Very good. It'll be good to get rid of those two old houses too. I drive by them every day. They're just falling further and further in.
The other thing that I did mention, and maybe it will not work for these particular two properties, and Dennis and I have had the conversation of potentially a situation like this that comes up, a Habitat for Humanity or something similar to that, where the city could gift it to. Obviously, this one is probably not going to work for that because it's not soon enough, but in the future, I would certainly like to see that happen.
We've also looked at various opportunities for community land trusts. This might be an opportunity for something along that line, depending upon other proposals that might get involved. That might be an opportunity if we had a third-party nonprofit organization that wanted to get involved with this and make a proposal.
As long as it's not the city doing the demolition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The city would simply be transferring the property, but that's an opportunity for another proposal for conversations that's been held in other forums.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions or discussion on this? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed, no. We'll move on to bill number 1566. Councilwoman Pace Snook, if you would.
Bill number 1566, an ordinance amending Appendix A zoning, Section 1 definitions by removing certain language pertaining to parking space regulations and establishing an effective date. I move that we advance bill number 1566 for second reading at our next scheduled meeting.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. This is a little confusing, so Dennis, explain it for me.
Okay, so I'm not changing the amount of parking that's required. What I'm looking at is I've been working with a couple developers on some odd-shaped properties, and they're coming up with troubles trying to find parking, so I got to looking at what a parking space is, the definition in our zoning, and it doesn't allow you to use the garage, count the garage. Because if you have to move a car to get that car out, to get to the street, it can't be counted. So I looked at Columbia's definition. They don't require that. It's just, they give the definition of parking space. And I looked at ours, and it's strange that we require that. After driving around town, looking at different areas that have been developed, older homes, a lot of houses have a single car garage with a single driveway. And so the garage is not habitable space. It has to be fire protected. So it only makes sense to allow them to count that as a parking space.
And you received a recommendation from
The planning and zoning, yes.
right?
Planning and zoning discussed this on October 24th.
Yes.
And Mr. Hutchins, I know this doesn't necessarily change anything, but it sounds like it's going to push more opportunity for parking into the streets. Am I reading it? I mean, that's what it feels like. Is it's going to give more opportunity for people to not create the parking necessary on their properties when they're developing or redeveloping?
It could, but I don't believe it would. I mean, I've talked with Kyle I've worked on a couple different plats a developer has sent, and I've talked with Kyle about it. And
So require, good question.
I live in an area with a lot of street
How about,
parking.
that requires one off-street parking in addition to if they have a garage?
Right.
So something like that?
But right now, it would require two off-street
It does.
parking
That's what it does
spots,
now.
including a garage. So,
but you could count the garage
But now you-
and the spot in behind the garage, if we change the definition.
right. which means as properties are redeveloped, that parking can actually be smaller than it is now.
Yes, and a lot of,
And
you
then
know,
more cars are on the street.
a lot of the lots we had, you know, the house on the Ravine Street, he does have the option to park on the side there because there's a driveway next to him.
Right.
But a lot of you know, the Bluff Street lots are only 49 foot wide. So trying to get a, you know, two-car garage in there and a wide driveway, you know, you're going to be limited to get 2 parking spots if you can't count the garage.
You're right.
You know, and a lot of the apartment complexes we have don't have covered parking, so they have big parking lots. It's these small ones that put a garage on there, a duplex, a fourplex,
So if they don't have a garage,
then they have to provide the open parking spaces.
there would have to be two on the outside.
And most of them have been putting parking lots in. It's where you're seeing the duplexes fitting on small lots and stuff that are zoned for a duplex, or a house going on to a real narrow lot. Because they're still required to have 2 parking spots, but the lots just don't allow it.
Right, which means there will be parking on the street.
Well,
If
if
it's
yeah.
inconvenient to park one car in the garage and one car
It could-
behind
it
it
could
in
be.
that
It
single
could be.
driveway,
Yes.
then we have, I feel like we're trading one problem for another. But I might just be biased because I live in a neighborhood with a lot of on-street parking, even when there is adequate driveways.
And we do have,
I
mean,
have
we
the
do
same
have.
thing, Jeff, so
uh,
I
I mean, we have some very long
Existing-
driveways on Ravine and they still park in the street.
Yeah, existing homes that don't even have a driveway, you know, and so, I'm not trying to fix all the problems, I'm just
No.
addressing, you know, a couple of them.
Okay.
Well, at least you get them that parks on the street, not the ones who just makes dirt driveways in the front yard.
Oh, we got that
In
too.
my, and there's
Some
an
days I
ordinance
would take
against that, and we don't enforce that.
Especially on a snow day when the trucks are trying to get through. I'd take them parking in the front yard rather than on the street. Okay, thank you. Goodness.
Pass it tonight?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll have
No,
more
it-
time
it
to think
just- I
about
just-
this.
That's a good question.
And I don't think passing or not passing this language is going to change anything. I just wanted to make sure it didn't push us further into the other problem. But thank you.
Very good. Are there any other questions or discussion on this? And we will have more time to think about this and mull this over. So we'll call for the questions tonight. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That passes. We'll move on to bill number 1567. Big red fire truck.
You ready?
If you would, Councilman Moore.
Bill number 1567, ordinance declaring city property to be surplus property, authorizing it to be sold and establishing an effective date. I move this for second reading at the next regularly scheduled council.
Second.
Third.
Kevin, what do you think we're gonna get for it?
Yep.
The word must be out there because I got an email today from
So did I.
Surplus Google.
Would they help us sell our fire truck?
Yeah.
I think we all got that email today.
I think so.
That's funny. Very good. Are there any questions or discussion on this? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Very good. So we'll move on to second readings. Councilwoman Seebacher, if you would present 1564.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1564, an ordinance declaring city property to be surplus property, authorizing it to be sold, and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to place bill number 1564 for third reading at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That passes to third. Moving on to thirds. Councilman Shiverdecker, would you present 1563?
Bill number 1563, an ordinance adopting an official budget and capital improvement program and appropriating the funds of the city for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020, and ending December 31st, 2020. Make a motion to advance Bill 1563 for final consideration at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Last call to talk about the budget.
Do we need to set this aside just as we did the other ordinance
I
until we
believe we
finish
do.
that talking, or?
I believe we do. I
Well,
make,
based on that,
the chamber. If we tabled that, I feel
If-
like this has got to be tabled as well.
if you agree to bump it up, I would, the extra money, they would still get 78 in the budget. We would just direct finance to cut them the checks, and we take it out of council contingency.
And then we can amend the budget next year.
The CAFR would reflect that change.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a small enough amount that we could go ahead and pass the budget tonight and do that.
So,
I mean, there's been
Doesn't
other
really make a
years
difference.
that, maybe not in the last few, but there's actually been other years when they've come back and gotten a mid-year adjustment for, I think we did it one year for some printing, and we did it one year for some maps or something. Like $5,000 or $6,000. It wasn't 10, but.
again, I know it's not a lot, in the big picture of things, it's not a lot of money, but yet I feel like it should be held off till we decide what's going on with the chamber, what we decide as a council with the chamber. Just my 2 cents.
And time-wise, is that going to put us in a bind at all? to do
I
that?
mean.
No, we have till
might
the
not
end of
be
December
handing-
for the
We
budget.
might not hand it out to the council in 2019, but if they're okay getting it in January, it's probably fine too.
We've got one more meeting this year.
Right.
We've got
well,
two. We've got two
more.
We've got two, we got one more in November, one in
26th of
December.
November and the
there's
17th.
two.
Oh, okay.
We'll
We'll
get
get
to
to
that
that
under
under
the
the announcements.
We just won't have
the bound copy.
You're right.
bound printed copies
I'm
by
already
the
in
end
December.
of the year.
I'd like to make a motion to table Bill 1563.
Second?
Have a motion and a second on the floor to motion to table Bill 1563. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
No.
Can you raise your hands for me, please? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Use some changes, somebody gets the flu.
When we come back, does the person that tabled it have to be the one to
Somebody
Present it.
that voted to table it.
Okay, gotcha. I just thought of that. Very good.
All right, so that is tabled.
Very good, thank you. We'll move on to announcements. Madam Clerk, if you would.
Sure, the remaining 2019 city council meetings will be held November 26th and December 17th. Councilwoman Pace Snook, that's where those come in. And then lastly, candidate packets for the offices of 1st through 4th Ward council members are available in the office of the city clerk Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Candidate filing opens December 17th, 2019 at 8 a.m. and closes January 21st, 2020 at 5 o'clock p.m. For additional information, please contact the city clerk. And that is it.
Very good, and I do not have a need for executive session tonight.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor say yes.
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 Cool.
Yeah, I'm already